Thank you very much.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala ashraf al-anbiya, sayyid al-mursalin, wa ala alihi tayyibin al-tahirin, wa sahabat al-qurr al-mayamin, wa azwaji ummahat al-mu'minin, wa tabi'in wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsani ila yawmi din. All praises due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the one that has created today as a special day. We testify to his uniqueness and oneness. We ask him to continue to bless the soul of our noble Prophet Muhammad, our patron, our leader, the son of Abdullah, wa ala alihi tayyibin al-tahirin, and his companions that are very pure and secure, and those who follow the righteous teaching established by him until the day of resurrection. Today, we are going to talk about the events that is really bordering on our activities in the world today. And then Quran says that Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, wal asri innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. It says that by the declining day, you see, when Allah swore with some of the things that he has created, he's only trying to call our attention to those things, to the importance of those things, to how beneficial those things could be. The time of Al-Asri, at the time when it's about to get dark, and that is the last part of the shining light of the day. So when the light is about to go down, it shows that the day has almost been exhausted, and then we should be preparing for another day. So the importance is that at that time, we must have exhausted our strength, which we have conserved the last night, and started working from the morning and through the day. So at that time, the energy is almost gone, and we need to recuperate, so to speak. So Allah said at this time, it's forward that innal insana lafi khusr, that man will be at the position of loss, at the state of loss, at the state of destruction and disaster. Illa alladhina amanu, except those who believe in Allah, wa amilu salihat. For you to believe in Allah, for you to be saved, there's always, when Allah gives you honor, no honor comes without duties. So Allah needs to let us understand the fact that wa amilu salihat, the belief that we have to substantiate our belief with amala salihah, good deed. Wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. Tawasaw bil haqq, they give admonition with the truth. and encourage people to be patient. Today, these two things are so difficult to find in our world today. It is difficult to see the people who speak the truth. Even when they speak it, it is difficult for us to find them to stand by the truth. People may speak it, they may not be able to stand by it. And again, patience has also eluded man. There are 4 categories of areas where we need to exercise patience. When we need to exercise patience, where we need to exercise patience, and then patience is always in many areas. The Prophet ﷺ, we have to be patient ala ta'ah, in the following what Allah says, patience ala ma'asiyah. We have to be patient in going against what Allah has not permitted, and then patience ala musiba, to be patient when there is calamity that befell, because we are going to definitely be tested from time to time. So we are not insulated, we are not immune from those challenges. So when you look at these two things, speaking the truth today, is a challenge of this century. Speaking the truth is a challenge of our world today. The era that we are today is the era where fake news, falsehood, one, spread more than the truth, spoken by the elites, spoken by people who supposed to, those who would believe that the imams, the leaders, even the leaders in the mosque, the leaders in the church, the leaders in the community, they are the one who's supposed to, whenever they open their mouth, the truth must be heard from them. But unfortunately, the reverse is the case. They are the ones that also deceived a lot of people and encouraged people to be duped, to be deluded of their properties, of their things. So there's no truth in the world again. And with the coming of the social media has also brought us to a situation whereby you see the people who speak the truth again as the non-entity in the society. And the liars get prominence, the liars get everything they want. The liars are always the one that control the system. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Sabr again, Allah has not promised Muslims, Allah has not promised us that everything that He will do will always be things that will be palatable. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ. Allah will test us with fear of the unknown, fear of those things we don't understand, fear of those things that doesn't come our ways. وَجُوع. a time will come when we will do everything, but we won't be able to achieve much in terms of what the heart will bring forth to us. There will be loss of food, there will be famine from some of the things that we do ourselves, or by the punishment of Allah, making drought an issue. So, وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ, and again, نَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ, disasters in business, recessions, وَثَمَرَاتِ, and farm produce destroyed, وَالْأَنفُسِ, and then you lose people, your loved ones, those who are in their ripe age, those who have not ripe, those that are very useful to the community, those that are that are the investment and the hope of the community. Allah will just take their soul. وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. Allah says, when this happen, give glad tidings to those who exercise patience. الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ. And these are the people that whenever they have been afflicted with disaster, قَالُوا, and they say, إِنَّا لِلَّهِ. What the word that comes out of their mouth is, to Allah we all belong, and to Him shall we return. Well, let me make some little digress. The time that we are today is a challenging period in the life of human being. But this challenging period has been, we have heard about it from our noble Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that it's going to happen. So as Muslims, we are prepared. You know, the Prophet has said that a lot of things that are happening today, and one of those things is said in the hadith of Umar, when he was asked about, when he was asked to tell them about the hour, he said, Antara ummatu rabata, that the slave will be back to his master. The slave girl will give birth to her master. That the meaning is that the children that will be given birth to today are going to be the relationship between the parent, and the children are going to be the slave and master relationship, whereby the parents are the slaves and the children are the master. And then the slave master relationship is just like God and his own creatures, because the master has absolute control. The master decides and determines what happens to you. So, and the children today are doing that. They don't listen anymore. There's sort of breakdown of that relationship. And Allah, through the Prophet ﷺ, has taught us, and tara al-hummat robata, and talid al-humma robata, that the mothers will be giving birth, the slave girl will be giving birth to our masters. So children today, they hardly listen. We send them to school. The school teach them something else. They take away our value as Muslims, our value as human beings, our value as African. They took all this value away from them, establish another immoral culture, and tell them, educate them that culture, culture of immorality is the best. I give you an example. There's somebody they call Charlie Boy. Charlie Boy was one of those, was the most prominent of cross-dressers in the 80s and 90s. Charlie Boy was the one. But people don't correct him. People emulate him. People praise him. All these things, they created a scenario that whenever the level of your display of immorality will determine the level of your success and wealth acquisition. That's the way. So Charlie Boy did that in the 80s and 90s. So in the 2000s, another person took it up from him. They called the guy Derele. It was another kind of cross-dresser as well. And now, because we did not stop them, they have not graduated. That cross-dressing culture has graduated from those two individuals to another one called Bobrisky. And, before you know it, it's going to become an issue whereby we have to deal with in transgender, because these are the kind of things that lead to people telling you that they want to change their gender. Today, you will see that people who claim as a woman, who were born woman, who were born from woman, who sees themselves as female, but because they just want to be different from you and they choose that they are not going to have sexual cohabitation with men again, they want to have sexual cohabitation with a female like themselves. And the male also part will tell you that they want to have sexual cohabitation with male like themselves. These are some of the things that have destroyed the enclave of the world that we live today. So this is a trying time. This is a period where it is difficult to train your child anywhere in the world, because the world has become a global village whereby the immorality in the farthest part of the world can be brought into the holiest home in the world. So, and then the parents, in this case, they need to do more. They need to do more. But unfortunately, our people don't understand something. Sheikh Sharawi said something some years back. He said, Al-malu hadna darajat rizq wal-afiyah iya a'la darajat rizq. Salahu li-awlad huwa hafdalu rizq wa rida rabbul alamin tamam rizq. He says that the first thing that all of us in this world that we cried about, the one that we always want to acquire, is the wealth. I want to have this money. I want to have this thing. I want to build house this way. I want to drive this car. I want to wear designer shoes. I want to wear perfume. I want to fly business class. I want to, these are the things. I want to stay in the best of hotels if I don't have a house there. The best of house, I want to be the one to build it in my village. We build houses that we cannot live. I'm not saying that if you want to, because the Prophet ﷺ has also said that the four best thing to have if you want to live a good life is to have a good home, is to have first a good spouse, second a good home, third good neighbors, and the fourth the good comfortable means of transportation. So I'm not condemning people living in good house, luxury house. There's no, once that your luxury is acquired legitimately, you're free to do whatever you want. Get yourself everything that will make you comfortable. But if it is not become, you are now obsessed that these things that buy you block you from seeing, from reasoning to why we are actually in this world. That is when it becomes problem. You must not allow anything to debar you from, seeing the real make of this world. So that's one. Two, he said, al-afiyah. Here, a'la darajat. You see, no matter the amount of money you have, if your physical well-being, that is your mental well-being, your psychological well-being, your physical well-being is not stable, your health is not stable in any of these things, then that money becomes useless. I tell you, we need to give thanks to Allah every time, because the oxygen alone that we breathe, for some people, they pay a lot of money when they cannot by themselves breathe this oxygen that we breathe, that they needed assistance. Then we need to give thanks to Allah. For someone who is on the sick bed and who has a lot of money, at the point when the pain gets to the peak and the choice of being healthy and taking the wealth away is presented to any rich man on the sick bed, that rich man will still prefer to be alive and to be healthy, and with the hope that when this world goes and I'm still alive, I'll still get it back. So he said, the one that is at the top of pyramid, for risk, for wealth, is that of sound health, good health. And Salahul Hawlad, for our children to be what we actually want them to be, for our children to listen to us, for our children to be the pride of their generation, to be the pride of Islam, to be the pride of the nation, to be everything that we desire in terms of worldly success and the hereafter. Because our children are going to be the one to replicate us. Our children are the, our children are the, what do you call, our replacement. There is no way. Every man that comes into this world will definitely leave. But you want to leave this world and replace yourself, because even the prophets, Prophet Zakaria alayhi salatu wasalam, when he was asking Allah to give him son, he said, Inni khiftu mawali min warahi, that I am afraid, I am scared I don't know. This that you have asked me to do, this that you have asked me to uphold. If I leave, these people will not continue. But if I have my own son, if I have my own son, and I tell him that this is what I do, and I want you to continue, for the fact that I am his father, and it will not want my own path to my own signs and path to be destroyed, it will definitely continue. So the prophets themselves, they want, you know, children who will control, who will also be prophet like them, who will take on the torch of prophethood and righteousness to the generation that will come after them. So the prophets also want that. And Jabatul Awlad, you know, for your children to be the one that will know better, will do better, will perform better than you, is also and always the thing that prophets are also desire of. You know, Prophet Daud, alayhi salatu wasalam, when he was giving Sulaiman, وَوَرِثَ سُلَيْمَانَ دَاوُدَ, that Sulaiman inherited Daud, and he saw that even Sulaiman is even more intelligent and has better wisdom and understanding of the situation. Understanding of the situation than he himself. So he was very happy. He was very happy also. So Salahul Hawlad, that our children are better. Our children are well-mannered. Not the kind of children that we find all around the world today. I ask Allah to make our children the best, what they call Qurrata Ayun. Qurrata Ayun is when you remember the favors that Allah has done upon you and your family, especially your children, and you shed tears out of joy. You know, that is what is called Qurrata Ayun. May our children be Qurrata Ayun for us, our wives be Qurrata Ayun for us, and also our husbands be Qurrata Ayun for us. And may we also be the same to our own parents as well. So, and he said, Rida Rabbul Alameen, to have that pleasure, to have the pleasure of Allah, to have the pleasure of the Lord of the world. And that is the complete and perfect risk. And that is complete and perfect work. Because even if you have everything, even if you have money, even if you have strength, your health is sound, and your children, they call Banina Shuhuda, children that everybody will be proud of. I want to have this kind of a boy as my son. I want to have this kind of lady as my daughter. Even if you have everything in this world that goes on for you perfectly. And because there are even people that are not even Muslims, who doesn't even believe in God. They have wealth, they have sound health. The health system in their community gives that to them. The way their forefathers have taken advantage of other, probably the people or probably the race, has given them advantage over and above other people around, that they will continue to flourish and prosper. Does that mean that you will have the rida, the pleasure of Allah? The pleasure of Allah is to be acquaintance of Allah, close to Allah, accepting Allah, you know, continue to do what Allah has permitted, you know, and to forbid what He has forbidden as well. These are the things that we need, all of us. All of us. These are the needs that we have to consider. The pleasure of Allah goes over and above everything. So, wal asr, the time has come where the Prophet says that we have to be very careful. The time has come, that time that the Prophet has warned us. The time that the Prophet has said that our people will be ariyatu, kasiyatu, mimilatu, ma'ilat, ru'usu'unna ka'asnamatil bukht, ma'ilat, la yadkhulna al-jannah wa la yajida riha. The Prophet says that a time will come at the end and at the time of Al-Asr, that at that time, ariyatu kasiyat, that people will dress, people will be wearing clothing, but that clothing does not cover and does not give them shield from exposing their nakedness. Kasiyat. At that time, you know, it doesn't make sense to people, because how can you say that people are wearing clothing and at the same time they are naked? So they can't comprehend. But today, this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ has, you know, been explained by the designers, the way they design clothes for women now, by those men in the industry, in the clothing industry, the way and manner they have exposed the body of women, the way and manner women also have traded their nakedness, the way and manner women have also exchanged their dignity and value. They've exchanged their dignities and value for something that has limitations. You know, so then, because when you wear clothes, you wear clothes. When you don't wear clothes, you don't wear clothes. But when you say you wear clothes, but you are naked, it doesn't make sense to them. But today we know that people wear clothes, but it does not shield their nakedness. We see everything that's beneath that clothing they are wearing. Even though some people will still be naked, they will wear clothing that transparent and gives every details of what is behind that clothing. Every details, no details will be left behind. Kasiyat ariyat. Mumilat ma'ilat. Mumilat, the way they were, what they call catwalk today. What is called catwalk today is what the Prophet was describing. Ruhusu'unna kasmamatul bukht. That the hair on their head is like the tail of a house. Mahilat, and you twist it together. Yeah, you also know how the breathing, the air is being twisted. So how it's being twisted. La yadkhulna al-jannah. These are the set of people who will never enter paradise. Wala yajida rihahu, and they will not even perceive the fragrance of paradise. So these are the things and these are the set of people that Allah has promised punishment, but for those who believe in Allah, who oppose the tenets of the do's and don'ts of Allah, وَعَمِلَ الصَّالِحَةِ, and they are also righteous and do righteous deeds, not only to human beings, but also to other creatures of Allah, the animals, the environment. All these have their own right from all of us. وَتَوَصَّوْا بِالْحَقِّ, and also whenever they want to speak, they speak the truth. Like I said, even imams, even leaders. The Prophet there is this saying that was attributed to Prophet Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. I only read it in one of our books. I've never come across it elsewhere. But it does make sense to me. He said, I call on you, the evil scholars, أنتم تخرجون في أفواهكم الحكمة. You come out, the word of hikmah comes out from your mouth. وَتَبْقَى فِي قُلُوبِكُمُ الْقِيلُ, and you left in your heart the bad one. You speak good words, but what is left in your heart is very destructive. مَحَلًا كَأَنَّكُمْ تَدْعُونَ أَهْلَ الدُّنْيَا لِيَتْرُكُوهَا لَكُمْ. It's like you are asking the people of dunya to leave dunya for you. It's like you, people who are vowed to be people of dunya, the businessman, the royals, you are also chasing, you are competing with them. I said, don't not be like things when people sift dirt from grain, the dirt, the pure one will leave, and the dirt will remain inside. The dirt remain inside. I pray and I ask Allah not to make us one of those that will speak the truth, but we act otherwise. Finally, because what we have been saying all along, it all involves every individual. There is no home that is insulated. All of us, we invite into our home shaitan. The Prophet said, Al-Quran said, La tattabi'u khutwat shaitan. Do not walk the footstep of shaitan. But we do walk the footstep of shaitan. We do walk the footstep of shaitan. So, today we buy internet into the house. When the internet is in the house, we have unlimited access to information and things that is happening all around the world. We have access to a lot of things. And I tell you, access to all those things destroys the family, destroys the fabric of what family is all about. Our children, they watch videos, a child that has been trained as a Muslim, that has been given Islamic identity, Islamic upbringing, but because of the luxury that we felt we want to give by bringing internet, unrestricted internet accessibility into the house. They're not exposed. And you see, there's saying in Arabic, يَحَبُّ شَيْءٍ إِلَى الْإِنسَانِ مَا مُنِعَ. What people are asked to do, not to do, they are always, inquisitive about doing it. It's normal. When you are asked not to do something, you want to also understand why must you not do it? And you want to give it a trial. Sometimes in my house, for example, these days I stopped recharging my DSTV because you need to make a point. There is some immoral activities going on all over, but there's a bigger one. There is a bigger one called the Big Brother, Nigeria. I can't claim not to know and not to understand what is going on there. But is that kind of thing that we want to pass on to our children? Is that kind of situation you want your children to be? Of course, there are some other things that are useful, but those things that are destructive destroy everything. So these are some of the things, and this is why we as fathers, as parents, need to be conscious of our children's activities. We have to watch them. We have to monitor them, watch the kind of friends they make, the kind of programs they watch, the kind of school they go, what they are being taught in school as well. These are some of the things that all of us, we need to continuously because as a parent, the job of a parent is a continuous one. Once a parent, if as a mother or as a father, once you're still alive, you are still going to pass on the torch. Even if your children becomes parents as well. Because they say you have to have experience in parenting before, so that you can also pass, parental experience to them. So this is what I have to say. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم. I said what I have to say. I ask for Allah's forgiveness for myself and for you all. I'm going to pause now and then invite questions for the next 5 to 10 minutes so that we can wrap up. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallahu khairan, sir. Thank you so much for the lecture. I think that you touch on a lot of points that will make us think about our actions, who we are, who we want to be, and how we act towards others. There are a lot of things that you said that I made mental note of that I enjoyed. One of them was the sort of how in today's world we've taken our worldly desires as a show of status or ranking, but really and truly we should be striving to please Allah, and how that should be the utmost sort of the thing that we strive to do the most should be pleasing Allah. I think that's definitely something to think about, and I really enjoyed that part. So for our attendees, if you have any questions, again, please go to our Q&A box and we will address them as they come in. So I had a question. You talked a lot about the morals and the values that we're instilling in children today, and just how we're bringing up the next leaders of society. And I think that, so for example, in the world, right, there are multiple religions and multiple communities. Everyone has their own morals and values that they hold dear. How do you suggest that we navigate this world with all the interconnectivity, and the world is connected at large, but we're all so different? How do we navigate such a world today?
Yeah, well, you see, the best thing you can instill in your children, one is good moral and value as exemplified by the Prophet Sallallahu. And then let them understand. Okay, for example, when the Prophet, there can never be a cosmopolitan and then a multiple religious society than that of Medina. In Medina, you have the Muslims, you have the Jews, you have the Majusi, you have the idol worshippers, you have the Christians. So you have all of them. You have all of them in Medina. So as we have battling with multiple religious teachings and religious morals and all that, so there was in Medina at that time. And the Prophet ﷺ was able to establish an Islamic society that includes all other religious interests, and they protected them. So we need to go back to the basics. How did the Prophet do it? How did he do it? So we need to understand that. Then that's one. Two, as a parent, one, you have to guide your be, you see, what we teach them is not as important as what we do ourselves. Make sure that what you ask them to do is what you yourself are doing. If you ask your son or your daughter not to expose our body, do not dress in such a way that your body is displayed all over. You understand? Because what you do sinks more. They may forget. You may likely forget what you hear, but what you see constantly is very important. So the way we treat people with kindness. Let them understand that the Christians amongst your families and your neighbors, they have their own rights. I give you an example. The Prophet ﷺ says that when you cook a soup in your kitchen and the aroma escapes and goes to the next neighbor, and your neighbor smells it, that neighbor has right to eat from that food. The Sahaba of the Prophet said that the prophets have taught us many things about our neighbors, that we thought that when we die, our neighbors do have right over our inheritance. So you have to be good example, model for your children. That is the only way you can set them free. And let me give you an example. I was shown a lady. I was shown a lady, and then we were just joking about her. Her father works in Hajib in Abuja at that time. So, when you work in a oil company in the 90s, you are a big boy. So the man refused to buy TV at home. He refused to buy the TV at home. So, when the question is being asked, he said, I'm still trying to train my children to understand some things. So later, when they grew to a stage, he bought TV. So the man's friend came and they were watching TV. At the point, the young guy just went and turned off the TV. Turn off the TV, sorry. When she turned off the TV and the house quiet, she said they were about to start Jaili. She said they were about to start Jaili, that they were about to start some things that are immoral. You know, the father has taught them to understand to that level. In my house, I have the way I have also teach my children. For example, as a man, I don't clean for my daughters. I don't clean for my, you train them. You train them because female children are so very, very delicate to train. So if I don't, clean for them, I don't remove their panties, I don't bath for them. So if another man who is not their father, who is not a family member, try to remove their pants and all that, the first sense danger. Even if that man means no harm. If a man touches her pants, touches her dress, she senses danger. And these are not things these are things that you cannot teach them when they grow. You have to teach them from birth. They have to understand it. They have to grow with it. They have to grow with it. We all grow up in yes, I grew up in the street. In where I was born in Isaleko. Obviously, there were flats in Isaleko, you know that. You understand? I grew up in Akogbo. The best you can get in Akogbo is a room and a parlor. And mostly, those room and a parlors are not self-contained. So we share a lot of things, but we know we were trained in a certain way because of the level of the knowledge of our parents. Yeah, they made some mistakes, but the mistakes were not deliberate. But in terms of discipline, my mother was an extreme person in discipline, and she was also an extreme person in care. My mother can care for you with everything, and she can take discipline to the extreme as well. And then when you train somebody in Isaleko and Akogbo, that person will also be very stubborn. And sometimes you need iron versus iron to get one bend, at least you know that. So because I knew my background and I understand, yes, there should be flexibility, but that flexibility should not be in such a way to spoil the child. The Prophet ﷺ says that if you train your child from birth, when he's 7, ask them to pray on their own. At 10, when they don't go on their own without being instructed, you smack them. So there are lots and lots of ways. Of course, there are different children, and you have to also study as a father, as a mother. You have to study your children, because sometimes what you do for these, is gonna be different for what you're going to do. The same parent, but they require different techniques in training. Allahu Akbar. Hello.
So we have 2 other questions that we will.
Can I have the 2 questions together, please?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Okay. So first question: is it permissible for a woman to use synthetic attachment to plait her hair? So I'm aware human hair, animal hair is forbidden for women to use. However, it is unclear whether women can use other things like synthetic hair or wool to plait their hair. Now, the second question is, can you talk about the actions that can help us attain Allah's pleasure when we feel far from Him?
Okay. The first one is that Well, there are animal hair, human hair, all those ones that they get Brazilian hair, Indian hair, they are not permissible. But you can use rubber, synthetic rubber to plait your hair to, just something that, of course, some scholars disagree about that too, but I am one of those scholars who, I follow those scholars who are always at the middle path. You understand? So we know some that are very clear. We know some are very clear that al-wasila wal-mawsul, those ones. But when you want to, I think they say kikoyun or something like that. You have this rubber, you have this wool and all that. So you can use all that. That's all. Those ones are permissible, and then there's nothing wrong about that. But using them to make it longer, to change the color, to change the that's also very, very disapproved by scholars. Then you see, to gain the pleasure of Allah, like I said, that you have to be patient. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ وَبِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. You have to have a patience ala ta'ah. You have to be patient in following what Allah has permitted, following Allah's amr. Amr is what Allah has commanded. Do it as at when due, to the best of your ability, and with the best of intentions. Then again, as-sabra ala ma'asiyah. We have a lot of distractions. We have a lot of things we can do that are even inviting. But you have to understand that Shaitan will invite you to something, will give you a gift, but is going to hide the price. It is after accepting that gift that the price will be displayed to you. So once you are able to understand the khutwah, these footsteps of Shaitan, and because they are very sweet things that makes people go above the bound of Allah, are things that suits you. They're very sweet things. So those are the things that, like zina, like consumption of alcohol, like drug use, like even yahoo, like taking advantage of the poor, like taking advantage of the people, even if it is not the poor, you don't even take advantage of the rich. You know that there's something inside you, and you plate because the mind is so far. We can be close even as husband and wife. We can be together, but the mind of the wife might be farther than that of the husband, or the mind of the husband might be farther away from the wife. You understand? And because the husband knows what he wants to do, or the wife knows what he wants to do, at the end of the day, you deceive yourself. On the day of, even in this world, you will regret. You can't gain the pleasure of Allah. You will be moving from one depression, one disappointment to another. So, as-sabr ala al-ma'asiyah, as-sabr ala ta'ah, as-sabr ala al-musibah. And whenever calamity befell on man, because Allah has not promised us that everything must be sweet, then we have to be patient. And not the patience that comes after you have done all the display. Because the Prophet said that as-sabru inda sadmatil ula. The patience that we're saying is at the peak of the matter. When it happens, when the matter is at peak, then the kind of patience that you display You know, you can't just be. So I was with somebody about 2-3 years ago and he said to me, Hakeem, I